Hello, BookTube. This is Wednesday, and it's time again for sort of Bookish Ramble. I did one last Tuesday. I'd hoped to do it yesterday, but work was just, it was my ninth day of work in a row. And because I'm off for 5 days, I wanted to leave things sort of as tidy as possible for whoever was going to do part of my job um, while I'm away. So I didn't get round to it. I'll probably wind up making a few videos today because there's a few things I want to say. But today will be sort of where I am with sort of up to date. Sort of my reading. I got some post here, 3 packages, and an announcement to make. I finished reading a few days ago, several days ago, Zulu by David Saul. Found this quite interesting. It's was published in 2004 by Viking Penguin Books. I had not read anything about South African history or, more specifically, Zulu for the time basically I've been in the UK. I have been on the outlook. When I do see African history, travel, that kind of thing, and there's some remainders that have popped up that I picked up, but I have, just glanced at them, read a little bit, but that's about it. Uh, in the last couple of weeks, when I got all these Zulu books, it sort of rekindled my interest, so I'm now stuck in. But I found this quite good. It's a general history. I'm gonna talk a little more about it. I'm gonna sort of there's some points that I want to make. I started this video and I started doing that, but I realized it took too long, and I won't be able to get to. And it would make a too long of a video, so I will do this separately. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this. And instead of diving directly back into um, another Zulu book, I decided I ordered a couple sort of general South African histories that I had read, that I remember reading when I was in the 1980s. And this is one of them. I've taken the jacket off. I just started this last night. So I only got one chapter. It's a short history of South Africa, John Selby, by London, in London, George Allen, and Unwin Limited. And it's very short. It's like 200, just over 250 pages. So not very detailed. But it'll be a quick read and just sort of refresh my memory of some main points to the history. Now, announcement wise, Amy's already put up the Dusty Bookshelf. We did sort of readings of other books in the past. Now we're doing one. She'll be doing one chapter on Wednesday, and I'll be doing the alternate chapter on Sunday. And it is Ventures in Book Collecting. It was published in 1923 by William Harris Arnold. And I have the same edition as Amy's, 1923 Scribner's, and I'll be reading chapter 2 on Sunday and or I'll be posting it on Sunday. I also want to spend a little bit of time because there's a foreword here that Amy read by Thomas J. Wise, which is an interesting character in of himself. Very interesting, and I'll do it. I think probably a short little video separate from that, just a very brief thing of him, because I think that warrants it anyway. And then we'll get into that for Sunday. And how many chapters, you ask? Well, if you haven't, I'm curious. I haven't even looked at that. Let's see. Does it actually give me a table of contents here? Yes, there's 10 chapters, so we're talking, yeah, basically 5 weeks, I guess, to read it through. So, yeah, and now to the post, I guess. Another copy, or the next one of the oldie has come. Let's get that open and see what there is. A lot of faff in it. Let's just set this aside. Let's look at the faff here. A new Rubik's Cube. Okay, if you're interested in that. Whole little pamphlet about it. Oh, Oh, it's a bunch of other toys as well, but this is a new Rubik's Cube in the back here. Let's see here. Free will writing service. Well, it's the oldies, so old geezers, so will time. Time for will. Ooh. This is kind of nice. British Museum catalog. I'll be looking at that. That's definitely for sure. I'll definitely put aside to keep. Hearing aids. So yeah, that was the bulk of it. The weight of that was the British Museum catalog, which is interesting. The rest of it is faff that I'll get rid of. Now on the cover here, it is Germaine Greer, the Wizard from Oz. The female eunuch turns 50. Germaine Greer. Oh, there's some stuff inside here as well. Oh, it's a review. The oldie review of books. It's a roundup. Oh, it's an insert. That should be interesting. I'm behind reading most of these, actually, myself. There's a lot in here that is sort of interest, so I'm sort of picking and choosing as and when. But there's some interesting stuff in there. Now, get to the mail. I've got to reach in front here, so I do apologize. Move that around. I need to get my knife in order to open up packages. I've ordered some other books that I used to have, the Boer War in South Africa and so forth. There were ones that sort of I realized that I no longer have in my collection, and I found some, seems like cheap copies online that look in good condition. Well, we'll see, because I am convinced that most UK booksellers keep their books in one of three areas. They've got a hole in their back garden dug in the ground, and then they put the books in and cover it up with horse shit. Or they keep it in a garden shed that leaks and gets moldy, or similarly a garage, because that's like this short history of South Africa has a moldy smell to it. Let's see what this one is. Ooh, this is nice condition. This is Adrian Greaves' Rorke's Drift. Actually, I not had this one before. It's a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be. That is fabulous. Because Adrian Greaves is a PhD in South African history and is the editor of the Anglo-Zulu War Historical Society journals, which are quite interesting. He regularly lectures on the Zulu Wars both in the UK and abroad. He is the author of Isandlwana, also published by Cassell. His other books are Flight of Color, The Curling Diaries of the Zulu War, a review of South African campaign of 1879, and a guide to the battlefields of Zulu land. See, I've got one here that is his Isandlwana, but I don't think it's a pen and sword, but he said castle, so I wonder if he's done a couple. I'm going to have to look into that a little more, because if there is a nice big Isandlwana like this, I definitely want it. Yeah, I'm more than pleased with this. This is like brand new, basically. I have the price on it. I got it through Amazon, I think. Was it Amazon? No, this was. No, it was, yeah, it was Amazon, an Amazon seller. It had to have been under like eight pounds or so with shipping. Doesn't say here, but anyway, it's Cassell. What year? Cassell, 2002. So, yeah, I am very, very pleased with that. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, I've got other books by Adrian Greaves, so I thought that would have been a good. I got it because I thought it would be a good adjunct to the Isandlwana book I got. But as I say, that's pen and sword, I'm quite sure, and it's very short. So I wonder if he's just done multiples of these, because everybody seems to, the historians, they write a book about the Zulu War in general, and then they split up, and then they do a book about Rorke's Drift, and they do a book about Islam Dawana. Seems to be the common theme, which I'm fine with it. It depends on the story, and obviously. Let's open the next one here. So that one obviously wasn't kept in a hole in the ground, nor in a shed, as far as I can tell. This is kind of interesting. I thought it would be kind of interesting to. Let me back up. Well, it smells like cigarettes, so it might not be so good. This is a first limited edition, signed, dated, and stamped, called Zulu Heart by Saul David, 2009. This was quite cheap, so I was a little hesitant. But it's a novel. It's a Zulu War novel, and I know that's sort of become popular. And I thought, well, let's give it a go. And I thought it might be an interesting collection to have. Is Zulu war fiction. A little out of the ordinary. And this was, this is in nice shape. As far as I can tell, this is fine condition. It's in the plastic wrapper. 18th February 2009, exclusive, signed, first edition, 31 of 100. It's a blind stamp. Well, it's not really a limited edition, but, well, we'll give it that. So you can see the blind stamp there. Yeah, there we go. And signature, Saul David. My Zulu War book is signed by him as well, but this has been interesting as, well, it's not a collectible as such, but if I was able to collect enough and have a nice collection of first printings of Zulu War fiction, that in itself becomes of interest. So we can create the interest in it. Here's another one. I'm not sure which one this one is. I don't like that it's just wrapped up in, like, looks like a bin bag with no cardboard. So the corners are going to be probably hampered and bumped. Dirty page edge. I think I know what it is. It's the Boer War by Thomas Packham. Just thought I'd get an edition of it. I read this sometime in the 80s. Last time I'd read it. Yeah, it's been dinged up bad. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, this is not what I was expecting. It's not horrible, but it's... Yeah, this is sort of typical bookseller shite in many ways. Not shite, but it's got a big ding up here. It's not as it was described. It's not as it said. It was not price clipped. Well, what's that? That doesn't really bother me, but it's clearly whoever's done it. I think all they've done is just copied and pasted a description from somebody else. That's sort of typical, but it was cheap enough. So if I would have saw this for even probably £8 or £10 in my bookshop in the condition it was, I would have grabbed it. So it's just staining. It's dirty at the top, but that's fine. It's solid, so it's sort of a very good minus copy, so I'm okay with it. I'm okay because of the price as well, so that's not too bad. There's a couple stains on the jacket, but this is a really, really good sort of general history of the Boer War. I think it's just, it's the second Boer War that it describes, not the first Boer War in 1880. Top of my mind, 1880s. We'll put it that way. The one I really would like to get is, I think it's like a 16th edition. I wouldn't mind. I'd like to get. Well, I wouldn't mind getting the first edition and the 16th edition. Well, actually, it'd be interesting to see them all. Anyway, let me get to the point. Arthur Conan Doyle did a history of the Boer War, and it went into 16 editions. He kept rewriting it as the war continued. I'd love. It'd be interesting to see all of them and see how he changed it, and if he really changed it so much by the time he was done, his conclusions would be interesting to see. Um, but I'd like to get the, cost wise, it would be the 16th edition. But I have looked at it for it, but I couldn't find it. But anyway, that's nice. It's a very heavy book. Weidenfeld and Nicholson. Um, Published in 1979. Again, I had this in the early mid 80s that I read it, and I haven't read it since. So I did take it with me one time, and I think it was I went down to visit from the Canada, United States. I went to Gettysburg and then Washington D.C. And for some reason, I took this book with me, thinking I was going to read it again. Never even cracked the cover. I don't know why. I don't know why I took that and nothing else, because it was heavy. But I did. So there you go. That's sort of my bookish ramble. There's a couple things that I want to do video wise. As I say, I want to talk about the Zulu Saul David's Zulu book and the Zulu War, well, Isandlwana and Rorke's Drift and the films a little bit in a little more detail, but in a general sense, because I'm going to use sort of broad strokes of talking about things and not details. There's a lot of details that you can get lost in the detail, as with any subject really. But I want to talk about that. I've got an idea for a book tag. I was chatting to a fellow booktuber through Twitter Messenger, and sort of came up. It's sort of one question, so I have to sort of it's one question for a tag, and I just have to sort of hone it down a little bit and make it a little more taggy, sort of tag worthy. But I think I'm almost there, and probably in the next day or so I will get that done. But yeah, I think that's it for video. And then on Sunday, look for there'll be the two videos with regards to the Ventures in Book Collecting. I want to do a little thing, just a brief, very brief video about Thomas J. Wise. Probably the best person to do something on this would be Jason Harrigan at Byways in Bookland. He's studied and read a lot more on Thomas J. Wise than I ever have. So if you're seeing this and it is something you're going to do, I'll pass on it. I'll just mention, and then if you want to do a video on Thomas J. Wise, then I'd love to see that as well. But if anything else, anybody else wants to make comments, feel free to leave comments, ask questions on any of the books that I have, or that what I plan on doing. I know where there were things that I had planned on doing in the past. I got sort of ill. I was going to do sort of read a book and then compare it to the film, and that's still a possibility for the future. But that's just sort of had to be put aside because of sort of my health sort of went down a little bit. I just couldn't concentrate on doing things, and I had to concentrate mostly on work in order to keep work going. So that's about it, I think, for now. There is a package I still got to get from the post office, or at least I missed it. When did I miss this? I didn't even hear the knocking on the 15th. So I'm not sure when that is. That would have been, well, yesterday, I suppose. Yeah, I didn't hear any knocking. Sometimes they knock so lightly that you can't hear, but I heard them today. Anyway, thank you for watching BookTube. It's up to the 20-minute mark here, so that's enough. And I'll get to do the Zulu book now as well. Thank you, BookTube.